downtown Detroit. Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli. Plenty of conversations happening over the next 2 hours. In 24 hours, the polls will open in Detroit in one of the most pivotal elections in Detroit. Voters choosing the next mayor. I had the chance to talk one-on-one with each candidate throughout the next 2 hours. You're going to hear from both Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinloch Jr. about their plans for housing, jobs, neighborhoods, and so much more. And then a deadline today for President Trump over SNAP benefits after a judge rules the federal government must use contingency funds to restart those benefits. We're going to track the latest there. And then a tough loss at Ford Field for the Lions. We're talking all about that loss against the Vikings and then looking ahead to next week. Now, in less than an hour, an emergency food giveaway will kick off in Port Huron at 9 o'clock this morning. 5 semi-trucks loaded with food will arrive at the YMCA of the Blue Water area, ready to feed up to 500 families. This is funded by community donations. If you need help, head to the YMCA starting today, or you can reach out to Mid-City Nutrition for meal service times. Now, if you or anyone you know is looking for help, all you have to do is scan that QR code there at the bottom of your screen. It's going to take you to our page at clickondetroit.com with a list of places to get food all around Metro Detroit. And coming up at 8:30, we're going to take a deeper dive into what all of this means as the Trump administration is facing a new deadline on those SNAP benefits. By 12 p.m., they have to say what their plan is. Now, on Friday, a federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to make a full SNAP payment by the end of the day today or a partial payment by Wednesday. To do that, the administration would have to draw on contingency reserves and additional funding resources. The Trump administration has to let the judge know, again, its plans by noon today. Well, senior law enforcement officials are telling NBC News that the recently thwarted terror plot in Michigan is linked to ISIS. Just 3 days ago, the FBI raided 2 homes in Dearborn and a storage unit in Inkster, arresting 5 suspects. We are still waiting for more details from the FBI on exactly what the plot was and who or what it was targeting. But sources tell NBC News 5 young individuals were taken into custody and the plot had a connection to ISIS. Additional law enforcement sources say the suspects are naturalized citizens from a Middle Eastern country who had access to firearms and firearms training. Now, we did talk to one of the suspects' attorneys. His name was Amir Mikled. He says his client is a 20-year-old from Dearborn and remains in federal custody, but no charges have been filed. He said he has found no evidence of steps to carry out an attack that were ever taken in what the FBI Director Kash Patel calls that thwarted potential terrorist attack. He describes Patel's claims as baffling and unwarranted.
Through my investigation, I've come to find out there was never a planned attack, that these individuals that were investigated, who are teenage boys, they range from ages 16 to 20, are not part of a terrorist cell. It's unfortunate that anytime there's an event that happens and people say that it's something that has to do with Dearborn, there's a second glance, oh, perhaps there's something nefarious happening. But there's nothing here. Yeah. These are normal kids.
Now, the FBI Detroit field office declines to comment on Mikled's claims. We've also reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Michigan. We are waiting to hear back. Well, tomorrow, Detroiters will head to the polls and decide who will be the next leader for the city of Detroit. On the ballot, City Council President Mary Sheffield and the pastor and leader of Triumph Church, Solomon Kinloch Jr. I had a chance to sit down with both of them for a conversation about their plans if they become the next mayor of Detroit. Let's start with my conversation with Mary Sheffield. Thanks so much for joining us. First question out of the gate here is, if you are elected to be Detroit's next mayor, what's something you would like to accomplish in your first 90 days?
Yeah, so I would say, one is going to be bringing city government directly to the neighborhoods and to the people of our city. Oftentimes, the resources that we have available are not getting directly to the people who need it the most. And so we have an idea of trying to, number one, improve city government and efficiencies around basic quality of life in city services, but also trying to bring ways to directly bring these opportunity hubs, or kind of like the old neighborhood city halls back into our neighborhoods, so that people can easily and accessibly reach out to various neighborhood departments and city departments that are the greatest need for our communities.
There's been this long-standing conversation about downtown Detroit and then the rest of Detroit. I know you've had a long conversation about trying to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. What would you like to see happen to see the neighborhoods thrive as much as downtown has?
Yeah, well, I believe that this is the number one focus of my administration is how we now create economic development, vibrancy, and walkability into every neighborhood of this city. And what I would like to focus on is neighborhood stabilization. That is one, continuing to eliminate blight throughout Detroit, ensuring that we're holding vacant and slumlords accountable who are contributing to that blight within our communities, but then also ensuring that we're providing funding for neighborhood beautification efforts and for home repair efforts throughout our city so that we can ensure that we are contributing to the rehabilitation of our communities. I also believe that we have a lot of vacant land in our neighborhoods, and so we should be proactively looking at ways that we can develop affordable housing, building infill housing on those vacant lots and land throughout our neighborhoods as well. And then lastly, I would say we have to bring more amenities, whether it's grocery stores, coffee shops, restaurants, daycare centers, whatever the needs of our communities are, we have to be proactive and aggressive at attracting those type of uses in our communities. And so we'll be focusing in on activating our commercial corridors to bring that vibrancy and that retail back into our neighborhoods.
I know a lot of your campaign, you've also talked about affordable housing. Can you give us some bullet points on exactly what your targets are and how you're going to pay for it?
Yeah. So I believe that every resident in this city deserves access to safe, quality, affordable housing. And one, we are going to ensure that what we define as affordable is actually affordable for those who need it most. And the way that we do that is we have to create programs and incentives like the pilot program that I've already approved and sponsored, which has created to date over 2,500 new affordable units. And we have 6,000 pending units that are forthcoming. And so we will continue to build affordable housing. We will expand the Housing Trust Fund, which I authored and created in Detroit, which provides funding to developers who are actually trying to build low-income housing in the city of Detroit. We are also going to ensure that we're expanding our paths to home ownership. Right now, through the down payment assistance program that we have in Detroit, we've had 700 new first-time home buyers in that program. We want to expand that program and get our banks to come on board to contribute more funding so that we can have more home buyers here in the city of Detroit as well. And then lastly, we want to ensure that we're building housing for all income levels and for all stages of life. And so while we do know that we need housing for very low income families, we also need housing for individuals who are young professionals, right, that are graduating from college or getting into a new job, a healthcare worker, a teacher. We need workforce housing. We need senior housing. And so we want to be very intentional about ensuring that we're actually meeting the needs of all of the housing that is needed here in the city of Detroit.
Now at 9 o'clock, you're going to hear what Solomon Kinloch has to say about his plans for affordable housing. But after this break, you'll hear Kinloch's immediate plan for the city if he wins the mayoral race, his plans for the next 90 days if elected when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. You just heard from mayoral candidate Mary Sheffield about what she plans to do if she is elected mayor. Now my one-on-one conversation with Solomon Kinloch Jr. about his plans if he becomes the next mayor of Detroit. Reverend Solomon Kinloch Jr., thank you for the time. We wanted to spend an opportunity kind of going through your plans, your policies, what things would look like. So let me just start here. In the first 90 days in office, if elected, what would you like to accomplish in those 90 days?
First of all, reassure the citizens of the city that the continuity of services will continue, that their trash will continue to get picked up, that the lights, street lights will continue to be on, and that their 911 calls will be answered. The second thing we would do is making sure that we engage not just our local officials, elected officials and stakeholders, but also our state officials, and also spend some time in Washington to collaborate on how we can move the area forward. The second thing that we would do is make sure that we take an evaluation of our top leadership, because we don't want people to think just because we're transitioning leadership that we want everyone to transition out. We want people to take a new approach in order to deliver services and excellence for the residents of this city. And then convene a table of all of the stakeholders with our residents in order to make sure they're partnering in what the reimagining of Detroit look like. We don't want citizens to feel like in their afterthought. We want them to be the first thought.
There are, and I don't know how many, but lots of department heads in the city of Detroit.
Exactly.
Would you anticipate keeping most of them, replacing some of them? Do you have any thoughts that far down the road?
I believe that we have some of the most gifted and talented individuals working in our administration. I believe that there are opportunities for those that have been working to see elevation and to see a promotion. And we would certainly look at ways that we can do that. But we also want to continue to be very attractive for other talent that's in the area or outside the area to come and be a part of what we believe can happen here in the city of Detroit.
You mentioned convening a table. There has been so much discussion about the growth and the longevity of the city of Detroit.
Yes.
As you saw in the latest poll, a lot of people are happy with what's happening in Detroit, but that's a lot of conversation focused on the downtown core and not necessarily the suburbs and the neighborhoods. What would you do to try to bring everybody, every Detroiter to the table to see some of that prosperity?
And Nick, I'm glad you brought up that, because no one is suggesting that there are not good things happening in the city of Detroit. We're just saying that it's not good enough because it's not inclusive enough. We've come a long ways, we've come far, but we still got a long ways to go, particularly when you look at these startling numbers, that 51% of our children are still locked in poverty right here in the city of Detroit. So that means whatever is happening, it has not penetrated beyond downtown. It has got to be more intentional in the community. And one of the things that we would do, we would ask our philanthropic partners. I would open up an office of philanthropy.
You're going to fundraise?
Yes. The money is already on the table. And they're doing a lot of good. Look at what Kresge is doing with Marygrove, the almost $200 million that they're investing. The money is already on the table. What we would do is make sure that we're coordinating those efforts so we can work collaboratively and collectively in order to make sure that we're not just doing good, but the good that we're doing is actually doing some good.
That number you just mentioned, 51% of Detroit children below the poverty line, is heartbreaking to say the least.
Oh my Lord.
How do we solve that? What can you do to try to boost up these families and these children so they are not living in poverty?
We have to make sure that we're putting them on a pathway to prosperity. One of the ways that we do that is the Kinloch plan says, let's start a children's trust fund. So every child that's born in the city of Detroit and remains in the city of Detroit at birth, they get a $1,000 investment. And every year through private-public partnership, that amount is increased until they get to the age of 18. When they get to the age of 18 and that money has been invested, look at what they can do with it. They can use it to go to college, they can use it to go to vocational school, they can use it to buy a house, they can use it to invest in their community, they can use it in order to put them on a path to a career or to college.
What about, though, in the interim, when they're 6, 7, 12 years old, and some are getting jobs or trying to help mom and dad because there's not enough money coming in, and they're making decisions on whether they pay their electric bill or put food on the table?
Well, what we have to do is make sure that we're leveraging our resources in the city in order to make sure that their parents are in a place where they can participate in the equitable jobs. We have great industries that are already in the city of Detroit. We got to make sure that we're doing a better job with skilled trades programs, with apprenticeship programs, with partnership with the school and partnerships with the universities and colleges to make sure that we're training our workforce. Development is going on all around us in the city of Detroit. Why are not more of us participating? And we have got to make sure that we're intentional about making sure that we're connecting our citizens to those opportunities and not just have corporations and big developers pay fine because they say we don't have an adequate prepared force.
All right, coming up in our 9 o'clock hour, you're going to hear what Kinloch and Sheffield both have to say when it comes to jobs and the economy in the city of Detroit. Then be sure to join us tomorrow night at 10 o'clock for a special streaming election edition of Local 4 News. We're going to have live updates from Detroit's mayoral race and break down the big issues across the metro area. Again, 10 o'clock on Local 4 Plus and clickondetroit.com. And, of course, stay with us for the news starting at 11. It is 8:16 here on Monday morning. Clouds making a comeback to start your work week. Ashley is tracking that and some strong winds. Plus a live look at Marquette this morning. The leaves are the only thing hitting the ground. Can you see some snow off in the distance? We'll explain coming up. Welcome back, everybody. A live look at Marquette this morning, where leaves are not the only thing hitting the ground. Take a look at this photo. Marquette recorded its first measurable snow of the season. It recorded 0.1 inch of snow early this morning, and more snow is in the forecast. Ashley Barresi live in the other side of our temporary setup. Ashley, I know that the S word could be in your forecast, and Tanya, our director, was scolding me when I said it. Look on her face.
Well, you can only imagine what I have to hear about when I'm the one talking about it. But yeah, I mean, we might not be that far off from Marquette as we head into the weekend. So we're going to get to that part of the forecast in just a moment. The here and now live look from our Windsor Sky Cam at downtown Detroit, where we sit at 45 degrees in the city, 43 in Ann Arbor, 45 in Port Huron, and 43 in Adrian. So actually a relatively mild start to the day thanks to cloud cover and a stronger southwesterly flow of wind. Right now, those gusts are between 20 to 30 miles per hour across town. Our stronger wind gusts being clocked at Metro Airport at 28 miles per hour. That's going to be the theme throughout a good chunk of the day. So plan for some of these gusts to even reach upward of 30 miles per hour as the day rolls on. Cold front sweeping through, and that does bring the stronger winds along with a broken line of some showers that have brought a couple spotty little sprinkles or light showers to the area. Nothing too widespread. But once we get past that front, the clouds are going to go ahead and move on off with it. So we will have clear skies through the afternoon. We're topping out in the upper 50s, slightly above average, but we hold on to the gusty winds. And so your out the door forecast for today, kind of the takeaways you need to know for the rest of the week. Really our better chance for widespread rain arrives Friday. So even though you might need the umbrella this morning, it's more of a scattered kind of isolated event. More of us will need that by the time we hit Friday. Gusty winds as mentioned, but we're trading those umbrellas for sunglasses later this afternoon. We're trending above average through midweek, but then we trend cooler going into the weekend. And that's what's going to make a difference with our possible precipitation this weekend, where I'm saying we might not be that far off from Marquette. So let's go ahead and look at the latest model run here of the weekend, starting with Friday morning, a little more widespread rain, and that will persist at least in the early part of the afternoon, possible mid-afternoon before we push that off to the east. Worth mentioning, this is long-range data. It's not within that 48-hour high-resolution window, so there'll be some fine-tuning to that part of the forecast. However, check this out. Picking up some deeper shades of blue by the time we get to Sunday morning, and that could bring us a brush of some wet snowflakes across the area for the first half of Sunday, and then that pushes off to the east. That would be our first snow of the season. Now, first measurable snow has to be 1/10 of an inch or more. The earliest we've ever seen that in the season, October 12th. That happened in 2006. Our average first measurable snow is November 16th. So if we get brushed with that this weekend, we'll be a little ahead of that average date, but obviously nowhere near that October 12th date that we've had. We've passed that. But latest first snow of the season, December 29th, 1998. Let's count down the days. We're 18 days away from the tree lighting downtown that you'll see right here on Local 4. 24 days away until the parade on Thanksgiving Day that you'll see right here on Local 4, and 52 days away from Christmas, 59 days away till the new year. Your 7-day forecast will take us into the 60s Wednesday, before falling back in the 50s this weekend. I'll step out of the way for a second so you can see Sunday. It's this overnight low right here, as we'll be probably below freezing in the suburbs before rising in the 40s Sunday, which will allow for the possible wintry mix to occur for the second half of the weekend. So I'm going to send it back to Nick. I'll let you get scolded. I'm going to stay right here in the weather office where nobody can bother me.
Right. Yeah, you can say those things and then hide from everybody else. Hi, Ashley. Well, helping put food on the table next, a deep dive into that fight over SNAP benefits as the White House faces a noon deadline of today. We'll explain when we come back. Good morning, everybody. In less than an hour, an emergency food giveaway kicks off in Port Huron. At 9 o'clock, 5 semi-trucks loaded with food will arrive at the YMCA of the Blue Water area, ready to feed up to 500 families. This is funded by community donations. If you need help, head to the YMCA starting today, or you can reach out to Mid-City Nutrition for meal service times. There's also another 90 minutes of Local 4 Live over on Local 4 Plus, and click on Detroit.com. It's still too soon to talk about, but we need to push through. We're talking the Lions' loss at home and how Dan Campbell called it a slap in the face. Then the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel is celebrating a major milestone. We're getting a behind-the-scenes look at how that tunnel runs. And then it is election eve. We're hearing from mayoral candidates in Detroit and Pontiac as they're asking for your votes. Also, Ashley is going to have a forecast in just a few minutes. Keep it right here with Local 4.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Let's get to your headlines here on this Monday. Lawmakers are back on Capitol Hill today, trying to end the stalemate and the government shutdown that is more than 1 month old and is just days shy of becoming the longest in U.S. history. Right now, talks are tense, tempers are rising, and the gridlock is hitting programs that help put food on the table for millions of people. SNAP funding ended on Saturday, but on Friday, a federal judge ordered the Trump administration to use emergency contingency funds to continue partial SNAP payments, while legal battles work their way through the courts. Washington, though, is still divided on over how to proceed, and lawmakers have pointed the finger at one another.
It's very unfortunate that Donald Trump and Republicans have decided to weaponize hunger and withhold SNAP benefits, even in contravention of 2 federal courts, which have made clear that not a single person in this country should go without their nutritional assistance, and, of course, that the funds exist to make sure that those SNAP benefits are paid through November, as has been the case with Donald Trump and his administration finding funding for other projects, but somehow they can't find money to make sure that Americans don't go hungry.
And the American people are hurting. Democrats have voted 14 times now, Shannon, to keep the government closed. 14 times they had the opportunity to have SNAP benefits flow, to let air traffic controllers be paid, to take care of all these problems and pay the troops, and they said no. And it is a fact that no one can dispute that they shut the government down over restoring free health care to illegal aliens as part of their $1.5 trillion wild partisan wish list. They're playing games, and real people are suffering because of it.
Now, over the weekend, parking lots were converted into distribution sites where families can pick up boxes of produce, frozen meat, and other household staples to try to fill the gap as federal workers go without paychecks.
Now we have to choose either to feed ourselves or to pay the bills, because either way we are, it's affecting us. We have children, young children. I feel as if the government doesn't care.
We're going to work every day. We're doing our normal jobs, but just waiting for that paycheck to come so that we can, get the pay, get everything paid, all our rent and everything else.
It ain't fair for everybody to suffer because they want to take off and do what they want to do.
Now, the federal judge gave the Trump administration until noon today to have all this figured out and to make a full SNAP payment or a partial payment by Wednesday. Now, here at home, Lansing lawmakers are moving fast to shore up SNAP funding at a state level. Last week, the Senate passed an emergency funding measure that would give $71 million to support SNAP, food pantries, and Snoop kitchens. But at last check, Republican House Speaker Matt Hall rejected that, calling it political. He says he is instead supporting the governor's plan to send $4.5 million to the Food Bank Council of Michigan. Last week on Local 4 Live, we asked the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Director, Dr. Elizabeth Hertel, about what the funding loss looks like for Michigan families.
The amount of money that we are not getting for SNAP benefits for November is $265 million. So $265 million is an incredible amount of money to try to supplement for access to food for people in the state. So we'll continue to explore different options, work again with our philanthropy community and others to try to make sure that everybody has access to healthy food this month.
Now, here in Michigan, nearly 1.5 million people rely on SNAP benefits. That's about 13% of the state. We rank 13th in the country to receive SNAP benefits. 43% of our families with children and 36% are families with loved ones or who are seniors or those with disabilities. That's leaving a lot of people to try to find assistance and try to get food on the table.
So I'm trying to find resources to get food. I just hope they get it together soon. They just have to think about the less fortunate, low income. Just put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Now, it's important to note the current funding is only impacting people receiving SNAP benefits. Those who use WIC still have benefits. Michigan has secured funding for WIC through November 24th. SNAP is a monthly benefit aimed at helping low-income households buy groceries. WIC is aimed at pregnant women or women who just had a child and women who have infants and children up to the age of 5 and provides specific nutritious foods, I should say, breastfeeding support and nutrition education. A lot of times people are able to have support via WIC and SNAP, so make sure you are aware of the benefits you have available to you. Now, if you do need some help, call 211 and they can point you in the right direction to food banks or pantries near you. We also have posted a link to local food banks and resources on our website at clickondetroit.com. Well, as Dan Campbell put it yesterday, his Lions game was a slap in the face. A live look over Ford Field right now. We're going to take a look at the low lights with the co-host of Detroit Sports Plus, Derek Hutchinson, and we're going to look ahead to what's next for the team when we come back. The Lions return from the bye week, hoping to extend their win streak to 6.
He was a 26-year-old Eric Wilson.
You don't want any of these to happen, but you know it's like a slap in the face. That happens, and you don't want them to happen, but hey, here it is. And so now you're forced to stand there and stare at it. And how are we going to fix this? No different than the field goal getting blocked. You know, you stand there, you preach it, you talk it, and it freaking happens to us. You know, and you get hit square in the face. So it's about cleaning it up. It's about correcting the errors, and we move on.
All right, you heard it there. Dan Campbell saying it's his fault. We're going to fix the mistakes. We're going to move on and get on with it. However, you look at that game yesterday, and even from the very first quarter as I was watching, things just weren't feeling comfortable. They weren't firing on all cylinders, but I can't figure out why.
Yeah, honestly, it just felt like the Lions, their identity is based so much on being able to win up front offensively, and they just couldn't get anything going on offense. It couldn't run the ball. Yep. It couldn't protect Jared Goff, and even when they did get some protection, Goff was under so much pressure that it seemed like he had happy feet and he wasn't comfortable in the pocket. So honestly, it all just fell apart from the start.
All right, so was it the Vikings having an incredible D-line or our O-line just feeling off?
Well,
or both?
The Vikings are a very good defensive team, and Brian Flores is notably one of the guys who blitzes the most in the league. So, but this is not new to the Lions. They shouldn't have been surprised by that. What was surprising was the inability by that line to keep Jared Goff clean at all, especially the interior. Then you lose a couple guys to injuries on top of that, and you're starting to worry about the depth.
Right. I also wonder if they're, I don't want to say they weren't prepared, but maybe weren't anticipating J.J. McCarthy to be that on point, especially for, you know, only his third appearance in the NFL.
Yeah, and coming off a long injury where he missed an entire month, making his third start ever. You don't expect him to come into Detroit and beat a Lions team that we all think is a Super Bowl contender, right? So the very first drive, the Lions kind of let him get comfortable. They give up a big kickoff return, so he had good field position. A couple big passes to Addison and to J.J., and it was like, man, you just kind of let this guy get hot. He found his footing, and then the Lions, it felt like they were kind of playing on their heels the rest of the game.
You know what I've noticed about this Lions team is that when they've got the momentum swinging their way, everything is going right, and you can feel it in Ford Field. You can see it on the field. When the momentum isn't there is when you start to see those mistakes, and they can't rely on the momentum.
Yeah, it's almost like they aren't as deep as they were last year.
Right.
They don't have that base where if things aren't going well, they can't catch up quite as quick. Like we saw it with the Buccaneers. The Lions started off hot and they just sort of, the avalanche kept going and they rolled over them. The Vikings, as soon as they answered back from that opening Lions touchdown, it was like, okay, wait a minute, I thought we were kind of going to cruise through this game. So yeah, and then it was just the inability to put together a drive. They can't convert on third downs because Jared Goff doesn't have the protection. It's sort of the thing that we were worried about a little bit in the preseason. It's like, what is this offensive line with all these turnovers, without Ragnow, without Zeitler? And for a few weeks, it was like, oh, well, they're fine. You know, the Lions found a way to regroup. But those concerns have started to creep back in a little bit, and it's not getting any better.
I think there were a lot of us watching the last play of the game, really hoping, thinking that the Vikings were not going to get that first down.
Yeah.
Force a fourth, and then we would have a chance, if momentum was right, just march it down the field.
Yep.
I don't think we expected them to convert.
No, and you know, J.J. McCarthy just answered the call on every single one of those big plays. And on this particular play, it was Michigan to Michigan State, right? He had Naylor, so it's like, I don't know. J.J. McCarthy, you didn't expect him because the start of the season was so rough for him to be able to make those big-time throws. Like you said, facing a third and long, it's like, okay, the Lions are going to get a shot here. They're going to tie the game. They're going to win it in overtime. Nope. Makes a big play, and the defense can't quite get a stop, and that's just the way it went.
I may or may not have used AI to make you this pie chart.
Oh, God. What do you got for me?
It's black and white, so I'm not going to show it on camera. But I do have a whole conversation here. Looking at our record after a bye week under Dan Campbell, I don't even know if you need to see this, right? But you probably know where I'm going with this.
I know it's not good.
Right?
Yeah.
It's 2-3-1.
The tie.
Right? Yeah, right. There's one tie on the pie chart there. I get nervous now after a bye week. Do you?
You know, I hadn't really thought about this until this loss. People started saying, it was on my timeline. People were talking about, like, why aren't the Lions ever prepared after a bye? You know, and you could even throw in the postseason last year. They had
in there.
The bye.
That's part of it. Here's my whole thing.
They had the bye week, and then they lose to the Commanders, right?
Right.
So, and honestly, the Lions have sort of been a team that struggles the first game of a season too. Like, it's not a bye week, but in week 1, they were coming off the preseason where none of their players play, and they look bad. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it, but it does seem like there's kind of something there. Like, maybe they just have too much time for preparation.
Well, and normally rest is a good thing. We're going to rest up. We're going to feel good. We're going to feel energized. Is there not enough practices? Are we not pulling the trigger hard enough to spend more time in Allen Park?
Yeah, it's a debate as old as time, right? Rest versus rust in sports. And it's like, where is the happy medium? Like, we've seen it with the Tigers in the playoffs. If they have a long layover, they don't come out strong. Some teams respond to it, but I'm wondering if, like, Dan Campbell and, it's such a high-intensity coaching staff.
Right.
If you're sort of taking a week where you sort of let off the gas pedal, maybe it takes them a little bit of time to get geared up again.
Right. Okay, so if you're Dan Campbell, what are you telling the guys going into next week then?
Well, they lost on purpose so that they won't have a bye in the playoffs, so that we don't have to reference this pie chart again.
What's wrong with my pie chart?
If I'm Dan Campbell, the biggest thing that Lions fans are going to be looking at, specifically today and tomorrow, is what is Brett Holmes going to do before the trade deadline tomorrow to supplement.
Do you see any movement?
Yes. There's no way that the Lions don't add to this team.
Are we calling the Titans?
I think that there's a good chance of calling the Titans because, Kevin Zeitler, he was just here.
Right.
He's a position of need.
Yep.
The person who replaced him on the offensive line just got taken out on a cart yesterday. So all of these things are lining up where it seems like, man, it's just a really good fit.
Yeah. Okay. Derek, thank you so much. Yeah. Always love it. You don't diss the pie chart, man.
It's a beautiful pie chart.
It's not even in color. And then the colors weren't off enough, so I had to add some lines so you could see what was going on there. I'll put this on clickondetroit.com. Actually, he will. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, hold on to your hats. Ashley's tracking a breezy start to your work week. And if you use the People Mover to get around downtown, listen up, because next week you're going to have to find another way to get around downtown. We'll explain why. Welcome back, everybody. In 1 week, the Detroit People Mover is going to be taking a short break. Crews plan to make some repairs before Thanksgiving to keep everything running smoothly. It's expected to reopen on November 22nd, just in time for a lot of events happening, including the Lions-Giants game on the next day. Ashley Barrissey is live over in the weather office this morning. Ashley, we've talked about rain, we've talked about snow, we haven't talked about sunshine. Can you squeeze it in there somewhere?
Actually, I can
You
this
can?
afternoon. Yes.
Also, do you want to see my pie chart?
Is that like the percentage of sunshine we see compared to the gray, gloomy days of winter that are ahead of us?
It's actually about the Lions' bye record, and under Dan Campbell, I can make it sunshine. Let me just add a little sunshine graphic here.
You could just put like a little sun and a smiley face
smile,
and make it all
rays
better.
coming down. One of the big orange blobby just to make when you were in kindergarten, just a big orange sun in the corner.
Yeah, absolutely, with just a couple squiggles for the cloud. Right. So yeah, here's your weather story. That takes me back in the day when the meteorologist would draw everything for you. But now we have fancy graphics, so better chance for some rain heading into Friday. We have a couple little isolated spritzes, sprinkles out there today. Not widespread. It's a broken line pushing through with a cold front, but you'll likely need the umbrella come Friday. Now, in the meantime, we do have gusty winds on tap this afternoon. We bring the sunshine back, but it's going to be breezy out there. Gusts around 30 miles per hour. We trend above average for a couple days before falling below average average heading into the weekend. So here's a live look outside. Cloudy over at Metro Airport. If you look closely, that camera's been shaking a bit because of the winds. 44 degrees at Metro Airport, 43 in Ann Arbor, 45 in Lapeer and Monroe. So it's a pretty mild start to the morning. We'll get more than 10 degrees warmer than this thanks to the southwesterly flow of air, and you can see how the winds are really picking up. In fact, we have a 32-mile-per-hour wind gust down in Adrian, 30 in Grosse Ile, and 30 in Ann Arbor. So winds are getting stronger, 34-mile-per-hour gusts in Sandusky. So a few isolated spots will be in that 30 to 40-mile-per-hour range. The rest of us kind of peaking around 30. Cold front sweeping through, so it's currently over southeastern Michigan, and that's why those winds are a bit stronger than what they were earlier this morning. And we have the broken line of rain. Gusty winds stick with us through the afternoon, but we top out in the upper 50s, and there's that sunshine, and we'll hold on to clear skies heading into tonight. So your out the door forecast, kind of 3 takeaways for you for the week ahead. We have that better chance for rain, as I mentioned, and then we need to talk about that cooler weekend that could result in the fact that we have maybe some wet snowflakes mixing in the forecast. So let's start with Friday. I've stopped the clock around 7 a.m. That's where we have a bit more widespread rain. Now, our high-resolution data is within a 48-hour window, so this is by far past that window, and we'll be fine-tuning that part of the forecast, but it gives us a good idea as moisture will be building in. We push that out by mid to late afternoon Friday as it stands right now, but watch what happens in the second half of the weekend. So Saturday stays relatively dry, but by Sunday morning, even before daybreak, we have some wet snowflakes mixing in. That's because this is the coolest point of the day, right around sunrise, and there will be a lot of areas dipping to or below the freezing mark. So I think that this is probable that we could see a wintry mix. Now by noon, this long-range model still keeping it snow around the metro area. We top out in the 40s, so I would think you might start to see a changeover at this point, but all you need is 1/10 of an inch for this to be considered a measurable snow. So our first measurable snow of the season, well, at least the earliest, I should say, was October 12th in 2006. Our average first of the season, though, was November 16th. The latest first snowfall that we have had for the season fell on December 29th. That was back in 1998. So as we count down the days, 18 days away till the tree lighting in downtown Detroit, 24 days away until America's Thanksgiving parade on Thanksgiving Day here in Detroit. Christmas, 52 days away, and 59 days away until we ring in the new year. So your 7-day forecast, there's that little bump midweek, 63. Clipper system drops us back about 10 degrees into the low 50s. You see we fluctuate from 40s and 30s overnight, but it's this overnight low Saturday going into Sunday that could result in a little bit of a rain-snow mix. So we'll keep a very close eye on that part of the forecast, Nick.
All right. Thanks, Ashley. It's not your fault.
Just the messenger.
I'll remember that. Okay, we are heading into the history books. A live look at the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel as it marks a major milestone. And we're celebrating by taking you behind the scenes how the tunnel actually works when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. A live look at the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel on this Monday morning. On this day in 1930, the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel officially opened. The vision began with Detroit Mayor James Cousin and Windsor Mayor Edward Blake Winter in 1919. It was the first underwater tunnel between two sovereign nations. Now, 95 years later, the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel is a cornerstone of the regional economy, providing 325 jobs and contributing more than $44 million every year. Earlier in the year, Rhonda Walker got a behind-the-scenes look at the tunnel. Here's that look.
It's nearly 100 years old and the first and only underwater tunnel for vehicles connecting two countries. And there is so much more to the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel than what you see when you drive through it.
This facility was designed in the 1930s. This is a unique place, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
The Detroit-Windsor Tunnel. It's an underwater marvel. This 1-mile stretch of road under the Detroit River is rare in the world, even today, connecting two countries. That familiar Tunnel to Canada sign, believe it or not, unchanged since 1930 when it opened.
So I asked them if we could please have a separate one-on-one meeting to discuss that.
With an impressive 39-year career managing complex transportation infrastructure projects, structural engineer Regine Boboff became the new CEO of American Roads, the company that owns and operates the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, just 8 months ago. Her team of 50 work around the clock 7 days a week to maintain it, and at nearly 100 years old, diligent attention is paid to safety, maintenance, and preservation.
All right, here we go.
Oh, wow. Engineer Trevor Pierce has worked here for 27 years. My tour started in the ventilation building, where massive fans 2 stories high help maintain air quality in the tunnel. Wow, and that's not even full speed.
I'm drawing in fresh air. Actually cleaner there than on street level.
So the air is fresher in the tunnel than it is outside anywhere.
Out on Jefferson.
Oh, wow.
It's very fresh air. Want to open the door?
Oh, what?
We can open the door up here.
At 2 stories underground, this 95-year-old building, nerves high. This is close enough for me, Trevor.
All right, so we're gonna walk over here.
I guess that's the fan. It scared me.
If there was ever any smoke in the tunnel, we're drawing that smoke out.
So that's in the event of a fire. Has there ever been one?
We've never had a significant fire.
What about, has there ever been water in the tunnel?
You can imagine a 95-year-old house with a basement, it's probably gonna have some water issues. The reality, yes, we do have water coming in here and there.
Routine crack injections and drainage keeps it from ever getting on the road. I never hear about a traffic issue at the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel.
Well, that's what we want.
Yeah, I know.
We're actually gonna walk into the tunnel and stand on top of all the cars.
What?
I'm not kidding you.
So we're on top of the tunnel.
Absolutely. And if you look through these vent slots where we're drawing air out, you can actually see the cars as they drive through.
Oh my gosh.
Traffic divider.
That's the road. A floating ceiling above the entire stretch of the Tunnel to Canada. So this is the tunnel.
This is the tunnel,
This is
absolutely.
the width of the road.
And it doesn't seem like it's big enough.
But it looks really old. And sometimes it just kind of looks dirty.
We wash the walls every week.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you have cars driving through your living room every day, and the people have to figure, this place is dirty.
It's our fault. But unlike your living room, this tunnel will never lose power.
So I have 2 independent feeders from DTE. I also have 2 independent feeders coming from Canada.
So you have 4 different sources of electricity.
I have 4 sources of power, all independent. And that one time where Detroit was black for 2 weeks, we had power.
This is a little claustrophobic.
It's a little tight.
They are also constantly working with their Canadian counterparts, and why it takes both sides of the border to maintain it, as the environmental impacts would never pass approval to build another one like it again.
There is no way environmentally you could actually convince Fish and Wildlife.
The middle section, not only below the river bottom, dirt and massive boulders keep it there and protected from ships above. But that does fascinate me that this original structure has lasted.
We're making sure that this place is viable for the next 50 years.
From inside the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, I'm Rhonda Walker, Local 4.
It's just fascinating. Rhonda, thank you so much. So much more coming up in the next hour of news. My conversations with Detroit mayoral candidates Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinloch Jr. continue. We're going to talk about jobs and Detroit's economy and sticking with politics. But in Pontiac this time, I hosted a mayoral chat with both the Pontiac mayoral candidates. We're going to bring that to you as well. And did Local 4 inspire an SNL skit? You be the judge. Coming up next. More news, more weather, more Local 4 Live. Stick around on Local 4 Plus. What?
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. So much to cover this Monday. First, we're focusing on tomorrow's big mayoral election in the city of Detroit, where voters will decide between Mary Sheffield and Solomon Kinloch Jr. Both candidates are laying out their visions for the city, from creating more jobs and driving economic growth to tackling rising crime and improving youth education across Detroit's school system. Plus, we're going to break down the new high-tech scam, how thieves are stealing your money without ever swiping your card. We're going to show you how that works and some steps you can be taking to protect your money. And Detroit is not the only city choosing a new leader this election. Pontiac voters are too. We're going to talk with the mayors, with the mayor that is currently in place. The race is wide open. And two longtime city leaders are going head-to-head for that job. We're going to show you what the candidates are saying that sets them apart and how each plans to move Pontiac forward. Let's get to your news headlines on this Monday. With all eyes on Washington right now, the Trump administration is facing a noon deadline on SNAP benefits. We are now 1 month into the federal government shutdown, and tens of millions of Americans are going without the federal food benefits they count on. On Friday, a federal judge in Rhode Island ordered the Trump administration to make a full SNAP payment by the end of the day today, or a partial payment by Wednesday. To do that, the administration would have to draw on contingency reserves and additional funding resources. The Trump administration has to let the judge know what it plans to do by noon today. So just 3 hours from now, President Trump is placing blame on Democrats.
If they vote to open the country and it's open up immediately, we don't even have to think about that.
It's very unfortunate that Donald Trump and Republicans have decided to weaponize hunger and withhold SNAP benefits, even in contravention of 2 federal courts, which have made clear that not a single person in this country should go without their nutritional assistance.
Democrats are holding firm on health care funding. President Trump is calling on Republicans to get rid of the filibuster to reopen the government without needing votes from Democrats. Now, happening right now, an emergency food giveaway is starting in Port Huron. Semi-trucks are gathering at the YMCA of the Blue Water area. 5 trucks will be packed with enough food to feed up to 500 families. We're told the funding is coming from community donations. People looking for assistance can visit the YMCA starting today or contact Mid-City Nutrition for meal service times. Now, if you or anybody you know is looking for help, all you have to do is scan the QR code there at the bottom of your screen. That's going to take you to our page at clickondetroit.com, which has a list of places to get some help and food all across Metro Detroit. Let's get to Romulus now. According to CNN, this weekend was the worst for air traffic control staffing shortages since the shutdown began. To be clear, we don't know if any of this is impacting Metro Airport, where you're looking live right now, but we do know there have been issues across the country. Between Friday morning and Sunday night, there were 98 staffing trigger reports at FAA facilities. That means air traffic controllers had to reroute planes or delay flights to keep airspace safe with fewer people working. Air traffic controllers are considered essential staff and must work during the shutdown, but they are not getting paid. Well, we are learning more about that alleged terror plot that was stopped here in Metro Detroit. Multiple senior law enforcement sources tell NBC News the case is connected to ISIS. Federal agents raided 2 homes in Dearborn and a storage unit in Inkster early Friday, and 5 people were taken into custody. Sources say the suspects talked about carrying out some kind of attack around Halloween, something they called Pumpkin Day. We're still waiting to hear from the FBI about exactly what the target was or what these charges are that the suspects could be facing. This weekend, we heard from an attorney for one of the suspects, a 20-year-old from Dearborn. That attorney says his client is in federal custody but has not been charged and calls the FBI's claims baffling and unwarranted.
Through my investigation, I've come to find out there was never a planned attack, that these individuals that were investigated, who are teenage boys, they range from ages 16 to 20, are not part of a terrorist cell. It's unfortunate that anytime there's an event that happens and people say that it's something that has to do with Dearborn, there's a second glance, oh, perhaps there's something nefarious happening. But there's nothing here. Yeah. These are normal kids.
Now, the FBI's Detroit office declined to comment on the attorney's claims. We've also reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Michigan, and we are waiting to hear back. You can find all of our coverage on the story on our website at clickondetroit.com. One person is in custody after a police chase ends in a crash. Garden City officers say they spotted a man wanted for violating parole yesterday near Ford and Middlebelt, but instead of pulling over, he hit the gas pedal. The chase ended a few miles later with the suspect crashing into another car on Ford Road. He was taken to a hospital and is now in custody. As for the innocent driver that is hit, we're working to find out if they were hurt. Over to Afghanistan now, where there's a rescue happening as crews are racing to save lives after a powerful 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit overnight. At least 20 people are confirmed dead and more than 300 others are hurt. The quake hit around 1 in the morning, shaking buildings and sending people scrambling into the streets. Officials say those numbers could rise as the crews work and try to get to those harder hit areas in what's now the country's 4th major earthquake since U.S. forces withdrew in 2021. Well, tomorrow, Detroit voters will pick their next city leader between Mary Sheffield or Solomon Kinloch Jr. Before the election happens tomorrow, I sat down with both candidates and discussed their plans if they become the next mayor. We've already heard what Mary Sheffield had to say about affordable housing, and here's that conversation with Kinloch on that same topic. Your housing and affordability plan is aggressive. You're calling for 10,000 affordable units right off the bat.
Yes.
How?
Right now, all we got to do is continue to do what we see already happening. Look at what Brinker and Tobias Harris are doing with Kresge. They have come up with an affordable model. We have to find an affordable model. We have to change the type of model we use so that we can afford to build it, so that when we are selling it to the residents of the city, they can afford it. How can you call it affordable housing if the people in the city can't afford to buy it? And then we have to intensify our down payment assistance program. That is one of the greatest obstacles for putting people on a pathway to building generational wealth. And we will continue to partner with our financial institutions in order to create models for that, but also we'll cut the red tape at City Hall that makes it so cumbersome for people to want to even do development. And that's an administrative function that the mayor can intensely and intentionally do something about.
In terms of public safety, Detroit has gotten better.
Yes.
Right? You look at the numbers. But you look at this past summer, and it doesn't look great, especially with crimes and gun violence involving our children. How do you try to solve that issue, knowing that a lot of the problems just start with very basic things about gun control and locking them up in a safe?
And it's a spike, Nick, over 30% just this summer alone. As a pastor, I'm tired of standing in my pulpit eulogizing our young children who've been taken out of our life too soon. That's life in reversal, to see mothers and fathers sitting on that front row and have to bury their children. No parent believes that they should have to bury their children or want to bury their children. They believe that their children would be around to bury them. What we will do is make sure that we increase the awareness of gun storage. But we can't just do punitive things like city council want to put into place now where you're just fining parents. The root cause of crime is always poverty. And what we have to do is making sure that we give our children alternatives. So we talked about how to deal with poverty, but also we got to give them an alternative place in space. And we did that at Triune Church, creating what we call Sanctuary Saturdays, where children come in early in the morning, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they have a plethora of programs that they can participate in, and we give them incentive. Because we're going to spend money to get good children who get into trouble out of trouble. Why not spend those resources to make sure that good children stay on a good path?
A lot of this conversation is on children, which is great.
Yes.
Looking at education, obviously DPS sees numbers not where we'd like them to be, both in terms of reading rates, even absenteeism. That is not your role. You are not the school district. But is there something the mayor can do to help the children in those schools?
I tell people often it may not be the mayor's job, but it's not just the mayor. It's all of our responsibility to make sure that our children are not just surviving, but thriving. Yes, I would appoint a chief educational officer, not to do the job of the superintendent. I want that to be clear. It is not to usurp the job of the
Is he okay with this plan?
Yeah, I talked to the superintendent, had a meeting with him myself some time ago, and he understands that my intent when I'm mayor is to make sure that we partner the city's resources with the school district in order to make sure we're doing everything possible to make sure our children have everything they need. They are seeking to do an aggressive job educating our children, and we got to make sure that when our children show up to that classroom that they have what they need in order to be the best student they can.
All right, after the break, we're going to hear from Mary Sheffield on what her plan is to keep the city of Detroit safe. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We just heard where Detroit mayoral candidate Solomon Kinloch stands when it comes to keeping people safe in the city of Detroit. Now we're going to hear from candidate Mary Sheffield on the same topic. Which also then dovetails into my next question about jobs and economic growth. That's been a huge conversation throughout this entire race and how you can bring more jobs to the city of Detroit. So again, what are your bullet points?
Yeah, so as it relates to economic growth, bringing more jobs to Detroit, one is going to be how are we cultivating an environment by making Detroit the best place in America to start a business and to bring an industry here. And in order to do that, we have to ensure that we are cutting red tape, making regulations as easy as possible or reducing regulations and fostering a business-friendly environment so that it's easier to start and grow a business in Detroit. Secondly, we have to reduce property taxes in Detroit. It is a huge burden to both residents and businesses being successful. And so we're going to continue to focus on driving structural property tax reform. And then I think the most important here is that we have to continue to invest in our people, in our workforce, in order for us to bring jobs here and in order for Detroiters to get the jobs that are already here. We have to ensure that we're investing in proper workforce development programs, that we have more pipelines through schools and through our colleges and our employers to prepare our residents for the jobs of today and the jobs of tomorrow.
Property taxes are reduced, though. That means less revenue for the city.
Yeah, and so what we've been studying in very much so detail, not just myself, but leading experts around this issue, is that in order for us to reduce property taxes that would be substantial and comparable to other cities, it would have to be about a 60% reduction. That equates to about $400 million in revenue that we would have to find. And so what we're looking at is that, it would have to be a myriad of tools that we would combine and go to Lansing to advocate for change. So whether it's an entertainment tax, a ticket surcharge, land value tax, we have to figure out what the best option is for Detroit and take that reform to Lansing to figure out what is the most effective way to really drive real structural property tax reform in Detroit.
Gotcha. We know one of the number one issue for voters is safety. And we have talked at length about the crime and issues that we've seen involving young people in the city of Detroit over the past summer. What would you like to see happen, or what can you do to reduce crime, and especially crimes involving our young ones?
Yeah, so I'm very excited to be able to launch the city's first ever Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And this office really addresses public safety and gun violence from a holistic standpoint. It partners with law enforcement, giving them the tools and the resources and technology that they need, but it also really uplifts the groundwork, the connecting our young people with the resources, providing more funding for youth programming and services. And I think that is what is needed in Detroit when we talk about youth violence. We cannot police our way out of it. We have to ensure that there's proper investment in our young people, from year-round employment opportunities to mentoring into proper training. And of course, we want to ensure that we're employing and getting our youth in good paying jobs as well. And so my approach will be a partnership rooted in strong relationships with the law enforcement, but also with our community violence intervention work that is on the ground doing the work as well.
I'm assuming you've had conversations with Chief Bedison about that?
Yeah, we've had very, very intense conversations. In fact, he was at the table several conversations last year when we talked about creating this office. He's in full support of an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And again, we are going to tackle public safety holistically. We will use all angles and all approaches that will allow us to continue to drive crime down, get guns out of the hands of those who are not responsible, and also ensure that we're cracking down on gang violence as well, too, which we oftentimes see when it comes to youth violence in Detroit.
Right. On the subject of youth is education. I know that, graduation rates, absenteeism is not the issue of the city mayor, but I'm assuming that that's something you'd like to take a look at and see what you can do.
Yeah, so I'll be a champion of education. I've had some very productive conversations already around what this next administration can really do to bring everyone together who's in the space of education, to have more of a strategic plan to address education. And so we will have a liaison from our office working with the school system, but primarily my heart lies in really helping with after school programming and out of school time. It has been, it was something that was very helpful for me as a child. And I believe that if we can provide robust after-school programming for every child within a 2-mile radius of their school that can really support literacy and tutoring. That can also help with public safety, and it also helps with addressing the issue of literacy here in the city of Detroit. And then we also know that absenteeism is one of the #1 issues facing our school system, and more of a coordinated approach to transportation is another area that our administration can be very helpful in with our school system.
We're going to have the rest of both Mary Sheffield's and Solomon Kinloch's conversation tomorrow morning on Local 4 Live, or you can watch the entire thing right now on our YouTube page. Well, coming up, this whole temporary set behind me here, was this the inspiration for an SNL segment? Did the show take its swing at this Detroit-style newsroom this weekend? We're going to break down how close their parody comes to real life. Right, producer Mary? For last week, I'm sure you may have noticed a different backdrop here. You can see the newsroom, the producers, the crew, producer Mary working hard, sometimes working behind me here. I'm kidding, she works hard all the time. And Noelle, don't give me side eye, I can see that over you. Our current studio going through some renovations and upgrades, so you get to see what it's like behind the scenes here in the newsroom. There's a chance that our friends over at SNL may have noticed too.
This week, Amazon announced thousands of layoffs, with Target also joining the list of major companies slashing its workforce. And while companies look to protect their bottom lines, American households are doing the same. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry.
Now, I'd like to say we haven't had any accidents like that here, but we may have had a spill earlier this morning when Priya and I were talking about the exact same story. You should see Rhonda and Jason running around the newsroom too.
Yeah.
All righty, come up here, producer Mary.
Are you okay? Yeah, can someone help him?
Nobody help him.
Okay, no, they are. They're cleaning up.
They're helping.
Oh. The kitchen's that way.
Things happen. Actually, I did happen to notice there's still some coffee stain on the wall and the floor over there as well. Let's take a look at your forecast.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
So as we are gearing up for this next week, the first full week of November, well, we have a little bit of everything in the forecast. So better chance for rain to be more widespread and steady for your Friday. So we will have a drier stretch through this afternoon into the next couple of days, but it's going to be windy, much like last week where we had several gusty days. Well, we could have those wind gusts again through the afternoon in that 30 to possibly 40 mile per hour range. We will trend cooler this weekend after a few days that will be above average, dipping this weekend, and that could bring with it some interesting precipitation for your weekend forecast. But this morning we had the cold front sweeping through. This afternoon drying out thanks to high pressure to our west. So your forecast planner for the rest of the day, We'll be topping out in the upper 50s under clear skies, but just the gusty winds. So you'll need the sunglasses, but hold on to your hats as we go throughout the day. That wind gust forecast definitely peaking through the afternoon. I've stopped the clock at 3, and you can see how the winds then shifted coming out of the west, and we will have those gusts a little stronger up into the thumb region. Come tonight, winds die down a little, but we're still going to hold on to a light breeze where those gusts could be around 15 miles per hour. Sunsets tonight at 5:24, and boy, do you notice that difference now that the clocks have fallen back, but your sunrise tomorrow will be at 7:11. So definitely noticing the sunrise a bit earlier. Clouds and radar, let's talk about our next rain chance. And so I mentioned it being a little more widespread by Friday. I've stopped our future forecast at about 6:30 in the morning Friday, where we do have a little bit more of that rain building its way in across the area. I would say by mid, definitely late afternoon, a lot of that is out of here. Now we're still several days out. We could fine tune the timeline of this a bit, but that's our next best chance of seeing rain. But watch what happens going into the weekend. That shade of blue that you see there, that could be our first snow of the season. So we could have some wet snowflakes mixing in with rain. As you see here, definitely in the northern half of lower Michigan. It would start off as a rainmaker before possibly changing over to some snow by midday Sunday. This is the first time this season that our models are picking up some snow across southeastern Michigan. Temperatures will be rising above freezing at this point, so that's why I don't think it's a slam dunk, but we do start the day right around freezing, so you can't rule that out. As far as our first measurable snow, measurable is defined by 1/10 of an inch or more. The earliest we've ever had at Metro Airport, October 12th, 2006. So we're well past that date. However, we average our first measurable snow on November 16th. So we're still a little early for the average date. The latest first measurable snow that we have had here for the season, December 29th, and that was back in 1998. So your full forecast will kind of depict the temperatures for you going in the weekend and how that could play out. But in the meantime, you see 63 degrees for the high come Wednesday. We fall about 10 degrees on Thursday with the Clipper system. We're looking at better rain chances Friday, upper 50s, but it's that Saturday night low going into Sunday where we fall close to the freezing mark and likely even below freezing in some of the suburbs.
All right, Ash, thank you so much. Coming up, experts say thieves do not even need your debit card to steal your cash anymore. We're going to show you this high-tech trick and how it works and what simple steps you can take to keep your money safe. Welcome back. It's 9:25 here on Monday. Stealing your money without ever swiping your card. We're taking a look at ghost tapping, also known as ghost charges. It's a familiar scam, but with a modern twist. Shante Passmore is taking a look at how wireless skimming works.
Hey there, if you're like me, you use tap to pay all the time whenever you're at the store, but it's that same technology the bad guys are using to steal your information, everything from bank cards to your house keys.
Flipper Zero, a multi-tool so powerful, it's also banned in other countries but legal in the U.S.
Flipper devices are basically, they are remote controls.
They can be used to open garage doors, power things on and off, and even penetration testing to make sure computer systems are secured. At Stack Cybersecurity, the team shows Local 4 how bad actors use the devices. Think digital pickpocketing and less card skimming.
So this goes beyond that. This could be just a simple tap of a card, and it will steal all the card information, and now the individual has my card.
I hate that.
Yeah, they can now take that, store it, and they can go to the gas pump and use it.
So how does it work?
It uses this dev board at the top, and this dev board has the ability to read
frequencies that use wireless bands.
It's not just cards. Scammers can also target badges and fobs.
It's not just about cybersecurity in your networks and your online systems. It's also about physical security. A lot of companies do not think about physical security, and they absolutely must.
Experts say proximity is key. People need to be just close enough to tap your information. The BBB reports someone may bump into you in a crowded area to secretly steal it.
That is insane. I can't even think that this is actually happening, but I'm not too surprised though at the same time. There's a lot of technology hacks, and it just seems like it's the next level up.
In a statement to Local 4, Flipper Zero claims its devices is intended for educational purposes, security testing, and development. It also wrote in part, "We'd like to highlight that while the Flipper Zero can read NFC and RFID cards, it cannot decode the card's encrypted security code used on credit and debit cards, so they can't be cloned." Still, some Detroiters say this trend has them doing a double take.
Attention to my credit cards and, stuff like that by checking them periodically online and stuff to see if it's activity.
And that's exactly what the BBB is recommending that people would do, that we would check our bank statements often. It's also suggesting that people avoid tapping altogether, which can be difficult sometimes because that's all a retail store will take. And lastly, get yourself an RFID wallet or use a sleeve to help prevent ghost tapping. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
All right, Shantae, thank you so much. Tomorrow, voters in Pontiac are also going to be picking their next mayor. We sat down with both candidates to talk about their vision for the city. That entire conversation is next.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Thank you so much for watching. A lot of focus this election cycle, of course, on the next mayor of Detroit, but there are other cities looking for their next leader, and one city on that search is Pontiac. The current mayor is running for Congress, looking to fill the U.S. House seat in Michigan's 10th district, vacated by John James, who's running for governor. So in Pontiac, that leaves the seat for the mayor open. On the ballot, two candidates with more than a decade of experience. Last week, we talked to those candidates. They are Mike McGinnis, the current city council president, and Kermit Williams, a former city councilman. Here is that entire conversation so voters in Pontiac can decide. Well, there's a lot of focus this election cycle on the race for the next mayor of Detroit, but there's a long list of other cities that will also be looking for their next leader. One city on that list, Pontiac. The current mayor is running for Congress, looking to fill the U.S. House seat in Michigan's 10th district, vacated by John James, who is running for governor. So in Pontiac, that leaves a seat open for mayor. On the ballot, two candidates with more than a decade of experience. They are Mike McGinnis. He is the current City Council President, and Kermit Williams, a former City Councilman. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We're calling this a mini debate, kind of a candidates forum, so everyone in Pontiac can have an idea of who you are, what you stand for, and what your goals would be for the city. Obviously, Election Day is a little under 2 weeks away, which scares the heck out of me. That means Christmas is even closer. But I do want to start with the revival of Pontiac. And Mike, I'm going to start with you. The city obviously has gone through an immense amount of turmoil in terms of finances, in terms of crime rates, and a lot more, which we'll get into. But as an overarching theme, what would you like to see happen to bring Pontiac back to the levels of prosperity?
Well, good morning. Thank you for having us. It's great to focus on Pontiac. We're an amazing city with an amazing story. And in this election, the main reason why I'm running is that I want our city to continue moving forward. We have seen growth and revitalization, but we need to pick up the pace and move our city forward faster. So there are a lot of factors that are contributing to that, but as we diversify our tax base, we have more businesses choosing to remain or relocate to Pontiac. It gives us a stronger base to then increase neighborhood services and improve quality of life for residents. So I want to keep that forward momentum and turbocharge it.
Okay, Kermit, same question to you. Pontiac is doing better, but what would you like to see to keep that momentum going?
First, hello, Mom. But one of the things that we're blessed to have happen, when I got on City Council, we were under emergency management. The city was in an economic list bankruptcy, and we were able to help guide that ship. I started off when I was 26, gave my hair to the city, and now to see when I left City Council, leaving them with $3.5 million for a youth recreation center and $37 million in COVID money. I want to see a people first Pontiac. Detroit has a great revitalization, but people still feel left out. Pontiac has an opportunity to grow our city for the people. Pontiac is the most diverse city in Oakland County, one of the most diverse cities in the whole country, and we want to keep that. This is the place that helped raise me, helped grow me, and now it's an opportunity to bring the next generation up with those same opportunities.
You know, you open a door to a question I was already planning on asking, is that the city of Pontiac, obviously several miles north of Detroit, you talked about Detroit's revitalization. Where do you see, and I'll start with you, Kermit, where do you see Pontiac fitting into the grand scheme of Metro Detroit?
So the great part about Pontiac is we're not Detroit, we're not Southfield, we're not Ferndale. We're a small country city that just happens to be up north. A lot of the people who came through the great revival of Generous Motors at the time, and now they're here. And so what we want to make sure is Pontiac is the city with that southern hospitality up north. The great part about it is our location is off of 75, off of Woodward, off of Telegraph, and Pontiac is really the place to be. One of my mentors, the late Hubert Price, used to say, Pontiac is the center of the universe. And now it's time to bring that back. The great part about it is Pontiac has an opportunity to do something that hasn't been seen in the north, to really have leadership and be a metropolis in a metro city, starting with small businesses. So we did it with GM, and now we have to remake ourselves with entrepreneurs, with small businesses, and being ingenuitive. We have world champion boxers in our city. We've had Grammy Award-winning singers in our city, and Pontiac is the place that it needs to happen. One of the things that I'm most proud of is Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech in Pontiac before he gave it in Detroit. And so we also need to be the thought leader and as far as the moral compass of not only the state, but the country. Okay. And Pontiac has that territory.
Same question to you. How do you see Pontiac fitting into the overall Metro Detroit scheme?
We have a very dynamic region, and Pontiac is a jewel, is a diamond in our region. We do need to polish that diamond some, and I'm grateful of all the work that a lot of community members have done to, one, weather difficult times, and now it's about going from just surviving to thriving. My vision is that Pontiac will be the creative capital of Michigan, so not just in our region, but in the state when they're thinking about arts, culture, music, cuisine. That dynamic richness of our history and our culture can be on full display, and it could be an economic driver for the city of Pontiac, where when people think Pontiac, they think of our rich cultural identity, and it's us as a destination, and it has a positive economic impact for our residents.
Yeah. We have a very long list of topics that we're going to be covering here over the next 20 minutes or so that we have left. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the challenges that Pontiac faces, what's happening with the Phoenix Center, and both your plans to improve all of those challenges when we come right back. Welcome back, everybody. Again, sitting down with the two mayoral candidates for the city of Pontiac, Kermit Williams and Mike McGinnis, for a kind of mini debate here on a Thursday morning. We're going to talk about crime in the city of Pontiac next, which has been getting better, obviously. But I want to hear your plans, and we'll start with you, Kermit, this time. Your plans to help reduce crime rates in the city. And another kind of in tandem question, the city currently outsources all policing to the Oakland County Sheriff. What are your thoughts on having a Pontiac Police Department instead?
Okay, so I'll take the first part of the question. I'm the vice chair of End Gun Violence Michigan, and we were able to pass 4 common sense gun laws. I'm very proud of that. I'm a Moms Demand Action Gun Sense candidate, and I'm very proud of that. One of the things we have to do is we have to prevent crime. So community violence intervention is one of those things. I've been to the state fighting for money for that. We've been working on initiatives. Also, we've been working with the county prosecutor to make sure that juveniles are matriculated, not to Children's Village, but actually through healing groups and other things in order to make sure that they're there. Because if you spend one night in jail, you're much more likely to spend another night in jail. And so we want to make sure that people are not in the justice impacted system. The second thing is Pontiac has been disinvested in for 50 years. And so we have to make sure that the money in the youth programming, the money in the community interest is there, because poverty is evil. And we have to deal with that and address that. My thoughts on the Sheriff's Department, I would love to have a Pontiac Police Department, but we have to be smart. At the end of the day, we have to realize that right now, the sheriff is the best option, because not only do they have some wraparound services like helicopters and other things that the city doesn't have, but we need to start looking at building our own trucks, because we need to revisit public safety in the city of Pontiac. But that's a 10-year plan, but we have to start working and making sure that one of the things that we do is have a community dashboard for what the sheriff is doing in our city. You can't evaluate a product where there's no matrix. And so we need data to do that. And one of the things that we need to do is make sure that all of the racial issues and other things are tracked as far as police stops and other things, to make sure that we're having good community policing and not over policing. But we can't beat up on the Sheriff's Department. We have to make sure that we have a goal as a whole city. And it starts with eradicating poverty. 25% of Pontiac residents are in poverty, and we have to deal with that first.
Same question. Your thoughts on reducing crime in the city of Pontiac and the Sheriff's Department, or a Pontiac Police Department?
I'm grateful that the trends have been so positive, that violent crime is dramatically down in the city of Pontiac, and I want to make sure we keep that trend going, because it's so destructive and destabilizing anytime crime of a small magnitude, or financial crime, or something really serious and violent. So we want to make sure we can prevent that. And part of that is, with our sheriff contract, we've ensured that community policing is a central part of those services and has expanded in recent years, which is positive. And we've also been able to introduce community violence intervention. So that really proactive step from our city leadership is yielding results, and I want to make sure we keep that, grow that, and I'm grateful that the state of Michigan is identifying it as a funding priority, so that way we can continue to have that as a priority in Pontiac. We've got to make sure, though, that the city is doing our part with keeping neighborhoods and the quality of life strong, so that way the streetlights are working, the trash is cleared, the services, neighborhood services, have to be very high priority. And when it comes to the sheriff contract, we'll have this existing contract for at least 2 more years, and then it'll come before the city to make that redetermination. We always have to be weighing the pros and cons. I'm grateful for the partnership with Oakland County Sheriff. It has yielded positive results with safety. And as mayor, I want to make sure that we're continuing to be proactive, innovative, and putting people first, making sure that their safety and quality of life in the neighborhoods keeps getting stronger, keeps going in a positive direction.
Yeah. Okay, next topic is going to be attracting people back to the city of Pontiac, and also employment, trying to get more people, more jobs in your city. Mike, I'll start with you.
So our city was definitely for generations a one-company town. Yep. General Motors just 45 years ago had 34,000 employees in our city of 22 square miles. A lot of employment, and it was our giant primary tax base. Today, there's only a few thousand, so it's a fraction. We've been able to, as a community, see a lot of positive growth with our now largest employer, United Wholesale Mortgage. Amazon has replaced the former Silverdome site. There has been some mid-tier businesses that are taking up some of that mantle, but we've got to keep growing in a really robust way. One big missed opportunity is our historic downtown that needs to be revitalized, and our major corridors. So if you think of Huron, Auburn, Walton, Perry, Baldwin. These are major streets that 60, 80, 100 years ago, they supported small neighborhood community businesses. They were a major employer and just really positively impacted residents' life experience. We've got to reactivate, clean up, and really bring back to life a lot of our commercial corridors and make sure that those that live nearby, those passing through, that they get to benefit and enjoy from not only good curb appeal, but that it's adding to the quality of life and the city's tax base.
Kermit, same question, attracting more people to the city and getting more jobs for them.
We have to be business friendly. Part of what we need to do, this is the first time in the last 20 years that we've lost population. So people are moving out of the city because they feel like they're visitors in their own town. I just met with the owner of Carnival Market. He wanted to do a $10 million expansion the next block over. And if you get a chance, go to Dogwoods. It's a great restaurant. They're doing, I recommend the Salmon Bowl. But literally across the street, they wanted to bring in a Starbucks and some other things in the community, and they were rebuffed by the city after they've spent $200,000 already on the property. These are the kind of things that can't happen. We have to grow our mom and pops, our small businesses, and make sure that we're building a climate that we're business friendly for everybody. I tell everybody all the time, right now we have Popeye service. No knock against Popeyes, I love it. But we need Chick-fil-A service in the city. And so that means redoing what we're doing in code enforcement with leadership and other things, and also bringing our economic development out of the basement. We don't have a brochure for the city of Pontiac right now. That's unacceptable. We need to be open for business, and everybody needs to have fairness in the city. If you want to invest in Pontiac, me as mayor is going to give you an opportunity to have a fair shake, no shakedowns, no other things. You have to be able to come into the city, and we're open for business.
I want to ask both of you about transparency and voter trust. Currently, the former mayor of Pontiac, Deidre Waterman, under federal investigation, again, just under investigation, for allegedly misspending $1.6 million in city money. Do you think, and Mike, I'll start with you, that there is a trust issue, and if so, how would you like to repair it?
A big factor with a lot of residents is they want to know what's going on. And when information doesn't get out there, whether it's with a current challenge or a crisis or just the operations and functions of the city, we're missing an opportunity to build and repair trust with residents. We've been through a lot in terms of hollowing out of services, the emergency management, sell-off of a lot of different items, and ending of city employees and services. As we rebuild those operations, we also have to rebuild communications and trust with residents. And that's a big factor that, as the next mayor, I'm going to have to lead and bring the community and our different community partners together to make that happen. When it comes to making sure that we have a strong, transparent government, I myself experienced an interesting and challenging turn in my life before I was in elected office. And that really shaped my experience of holding myself to a very high standard, making sure that I don't get tripped up into BS that distracts from being able to serve the residents. And I'm proud of the fact that twice elected to the school board and now serving and elected and serving to the city council, that I have not engaged in any behavior that's questionable, that has been investigated and so forth. And so as mayor, I'm going to keep holding myself to that same high standard, in part forged from the experience of my own troubles before I was in elected office, because I don't want that for the residents. I don't want that stress for myself. And we got to focus on getting results for the people so we don't have time to get drawn into mess.
Sure. Kermit, I will give you some fair time here, but I do have to ask, what you're talking about there was 15 years ago in 2010, there was convicted of fraudulently entering 3 Tea Party members' names as candidates for either Oakland County Board of Commissioners or the Michigan Legislature. You called that a very painful lesson. Can you describe what that lesson was?
Sure. When I was chair of the Oakland County Democratic Party 15 years ago, I was trying to do the right thing and got ensnared in the wrong way of doing it. And so I've had to, for the rest of my life, we'll have to keep paying this lesson over and over again, that don't get involved in BS, even if you're not directly doing it. You know, go the high road and go the right sound way. And so that's been a painful experience where I had to, was on the front page of the papers, all sorts of, legal challenges that'll follow me the rest of my life. And it's forged who I've been as a community leader, because I don't want to ever experience that again. And I don't want my community to have to experience that. So I've tried to hold myself to a very high standard, and I want to make sure that the city operation that we lead also isn't getting ensnared in any distractions and headaches in that regard as well.
Kermit, same question. Your thoughts on transparency and trust with city government?
So I'm blessed to be elder at my church. I've been a minister for 20 years, and so the number one way to bring back transparency is stop lying to the people. I literally left the city council because we had those challenges, and we've surveyed the community. We did over 5,000 surveys with our nonprofit, and they said trust was the number one issue. They didn't trust government. So we left the city council, and I ran for charter commission. We spent 2 years on developing an Office of Public Integrity and a public integrity officer to make sure that our city is now safeguarded from any of that, because you have a person that can investigate. The problem that I have is they've implemented a lot of the charter with coming up with the payment for the council president and other things, but the public integrity division has not been started at all. They haven't picked the citizens, they haven't picked the public integrity officer, and these are the things that citizens need. They need to be able to get the reports, get the data, and see the transparency that we talk about. You can't tell people that you're transparent. You have to show people that you're transparent. I've been blessed to do it the right way for 20 years, and I'm going to keep on doing that in the way that I serve the city. Pontiac needs to be first. The people need to be first, and not the politicians.
He pointed the finger at you, so I'll give you 30 seconds for a rebuttal if you'd like.
We have to make sure that our city government works is functioning effectively across the board. And what he's identified definitely is something that needs to be tackled. And it's been unfortunate that that has not happened yet. When I'm mayor, we can deliver on a lot of the initiatives that the charter has called for and that have been in the city government structure for decades, but hasn't been happening the way it is. The mayor has the authority and power to appoint, to hold people accountable, to communicate out to the residents, and I look forward to, as mayor, seeing quick progress and leading that quick progress. But in terms of the Office of Public Integrity, that position is posted. Anyone can pursue and see that listing online and see if they'd like to apply. I've been pushing the administration to get even to that point, and as mayor, I'll be able to make sure it happens.
Okay. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to dive into some of the issues that probably matter most to your residents in Pontiac. Housing, blight, infrastructure is the things that matter most to them when we come back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. Again, we're talking with Mike McGinnis and Kermit Williams, both candidates for the mayor of Pontiac, both looking to be the next leader in the city of Pontiac. We have talked about so many things, the challenges, transparency, employment rates, crime, but let's get now to some of the things that affect people right in their own homes, which would be housing, some of the blight. Kermit, I'm going to start with you here. What can you do to get more housing, more affordable housing, and to address the issues of blight?
So we need housing for everybody. One of the things that we need to do is make sure that we are being creative in what we do. Our code only has basically single-family homes, condos, and apartments right now. And we need to be able to expand that. Ann Arbor has done an excellent job with making housing for college students and others, and that's one way we can make it affordable. The other thing is we have to produce jobs. At the end of the day, affordability when you don't have any money is not affordable. And so we have to make sure that we're tackling that. We need to build 1,000 new homes over the first 4 years of my administration. Part of what we're going to do is we also have to keep our seniors in our home. So I've been working for 20 years. We started off repairing seniors' homes with Christmas in Action. We started a chore program back in the city, and I'm glad we were able to do that on council. But we need to make sure that the citizens can age in place. And one of the things that I'm putting in our administration is community navigators. So when the seniors call, we actually have people that are from the city that's helping them navigate, because if you don't have computer savviness, you can't function in this system with DHHS or anything else. And so we need to help the grandmas and others, and even the young people who are not computer literate, in order to do that. We also have to make sure that we're using all the tax abatements, brownfields, pilots, and other things in the city to make sure our city is growing in the right way. But it's got to be mutually beneficial. The problem that we've had in Pontiac is we've had scattered site development and other things that haven't benefited the residents on a long-term scale and a plan. We need a housing plan.
Okay, Mike.
I am going to be a pro-growth mayor. So we want to grow our population. We want those that grew up in Pontiac and have moved away to come home. And we want those that are aging in place to get older and have amazing golden years right in our city of Pontiac. We do have thousands of vacant lots, empty land that needs to be redeveloped and revitalized, and housing is going to be a driving factor for that growth. So we need to have an all-of-the-above strategy. We've recently been able to draft now a housing plan and a housing study for the city, and we've made some innovative approaches when it comes to land use and zoning. And as mayor, I want to drive that progress, drive that growth, and have a very robust season of homes, condos, townhomes, apartments, residential conversion of historic buildings that we're seeing in our downtown right now. We need all of that growth because there are thousands of parcels that used to have homes that have since been demolished. The housing crisis during the late 2000s hit Pontiac very hard, and it led to a big spike in rental properties, not as many homeowners. So as we return that homeowner status in our neighborhoods, we've also been defending and protecting renters, so that way unscrupulous landlords haven't been taking advantage. We've been adding a lot of renter protections, including starting an escrow program to make sure that there are protections and safeguards in place for the thousands of Pontiac families who are renters right now. And I'm proud of that progress, and there's even more proactive initiatives that we're going to undertake.
Okay, our timing is working out perfectly here. So we're kind of at the end of this mini debate candidate forum. We're going to give each of you 60 seconds for some closing remarks, whatever you'd like to say to the citizens of Pontiac. Kermit, we'll start with you, and I'll give you time cues to let you know when your time is wrapping up.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick, and Channel 4. This has been phenomenal. What I want to say to the Pontiac residents is everything that I am, everything that I will be is because of Pontiac. You've given me the opportunity to lead since I've been 26 years old. I gave my hair to the city. I'm 42 now, but we need our next generation to feel like they have a place in Pontiac that they're not going to run away from, because we failed them. And now is the time to reset Pontiac in a way that our next generation feels like they can make a home. The name of our campaign is Let's Make Pontiac Home Together, and we want to do that. Housing, opportunity, infrastructure, municipal services, and education. We have to fix the bridge on Martin Luther King. We have to partner with our schools. We have to make sure that all of our kids are literate in the city of Pontiac, and we need to make sure that it's time to invest in us. Thank you, Pontiac. I'm asking for your vote. Go to KermitWilliams.com if you want to support.
Okay, Kermit, Mike, your closing thoughts.
Thank you for the opportunity to put some attention on Pontiac. We deserve the attention, and we have an amazing city, and it's been really powerful to be a part of that experience of helping lead our community. I want to say thank you to my neighbors for entrusting me twice on the school board and now on this term on the city council, and my colleagues for choosing me to lead our city council. And I'm asking now for my neighbors' vote and support so that we can move our city forward faster. There are a lot of amazing projects and initiatives underway in our city, and I want to make sure we keep that positive momentum going and we land even more big wins for our residents. Right now, we have 17 major construction projects underway by the city of Pontiac. We have record grant, state, federal, county funding for the county, from the county to our city. I want to make sure that we deliver those results, finish strong, and have a brighter, more robust city of Pontiac for everybody.
Okay. Mike McGinnis, Kermit Williams, both candidates for Pontiac City Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that all of your residents have been tuning in so they can get a better idea of who their candidate is going to be. Most importantly, everybody watching, I don't care who you're voting for, but please go and vote. We need voter turnout much more than ever right now. All right, as we said, just a reminder, go and vote tomorrow. Tomorrow is Election Day. Also breaking news into our newsroom right now, we are seeing some information about the suspects accused of a terror plot here in the area. I'm looking at 2 criminal complaints right now. One of them talks about 1,600 rounds of ammunitions and AR-15s that were purchased in the area. Both, at least 2 of the suspects that were arrested, are supposed to be in court at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll have all those details and a full write-up on our website at clickondetroit.com. As I mentioned, we just got these complaints a few moments ago. Give us a few moments to kind of dissect it and read page by page, and then we'll have a full write-up on our website. Thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live. More news and weather ahead here on Local 4 Plus, and as always, clickondetroit.com.